People have been enjoying working with the Knit 2 Purl 2 tubular cast on and asked if we can do it in Knit 1 Purl 1. And yes, we can. Here it is.
I've been asked about 1x1 rib, that is Knit 1 Purl 1 rib, using the tubular cast on. And here it is done, and you can already see it looks pretty nice. I've used waste yarn, but this time I didn't use a ravel cord. And if that's what you do, the way you get your waste yarn out is to sacrifice it by snipping it, at least on the ends, and you may need to do a little additional snipping, but I think we won't here. There you go. That's how it looks, which I think is a really good look. And now I will show you how you get there. Let's work some Knit 1 Purl 1 rib into this setup. I have already begun with waste yarn. That's the yellow. And the main yarn is the black and white. And I've knitted 3 ordinary rows starting in the waste yarn. Now here's what's going to happen. We're going to knit 1, purl 1 in between, knit 1, purl 1 in between. Of course, I'll be moving stitches over in order to fit those in-betweens, and we'll be lifting purl bars to get them. But that is to explain, to help you to understand how we figure out how many stitches. Everywhere I'm pointing to will be a purl stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we've actually cast on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So our total number will be 15. You'll get to add 1 fewer purl stitch than the total number that you begin with, and you'll see how that works. Do not slip the end stitches using this method. Knit it. Move it over. Now, take the very first purl bump of the main yarn, here it is right here, lift it up and hang it on the empty peg. That one is going to be a purl stitch, so let's go ahead and purl it right now. For this sample, I'm using the U-stitch, but I make my U-stitches a little different than some people. I lift, wrap, lift over, giving it a tug. So that's where my U is forming more than from my initial wrap. All right, we're ready to make room for the next purl stitch. Move these over. My working yarn loosened a little bit, but it's no problem. We'll just tighten it. Now we need to go down and find the next purl bump. This one's already been worked into. Nope, I told you wrong. That one's been worked into. This one, just ahead, well, just behind, just to the left of the working yarn, has not been lifted and worked. So that is the next one. And what I just did, almost making a mistake, goes to show you the main issue that you're dealing with in this kind of cast on is watching those purl bumps closely, which is why I so strongly recommend that your waste yarn be a contrasting color. It makes it infinitely easier. A normal knit stitch into the existing stitch. And let's move these over to make some more room. As you can see, it's important on this kind of loom that the stitches not be overly tight. If they are, making room gets to be quite a chore. You want them to be tight enough that they don't look sloppy when the cast on is complete, so you have to find a happy medium. Looking around for our next purl bump, and as the stitches get stretched, they can be a little bad about hiding, but there it is. Lift it and purl into it. yarn is trying to get on the opposite side from where I want it to be. There, I just moved my yarn ball off camera. That should solve that problem. Knit the next stitch normally. Let's move to the left one more time. After that, we can start moving to the right. As long as you get your stitches in the correct order, you can move some to the left and some to the right. You just have to keep on making sure that without fail, you knit one, then lift a purl bump and purl into it. This is not as hard as it may look to you. I'm working around the camera, which makes everything a little bit more challenging. There we go. Now, seeking out the next purl bump, we can see that one's been lifted and worked into, so there should be one about there, and indeed there is. Lift it, place it on the peg, make sure that the yarn goes where it is supposed to. In this case, it should be coming from behind the peg. Purl. Knit this one. Now there will be a purl stitch here, 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 and here. But we can start moving the other direction. The only reason that you care which direction is just because it's less work to move a few stitches than all of the previous stitches. That's the only thing that made me decide to do it this way. There's my space, looking for my purl bump. There it is. Put it on the peg and we'll purl. Knit the next one. Move these over. We're going to begin and end with a knit stitch, which is the way most patterns work. You could arrange matters differently, but I think most of the time you'll want to begin and end with a knit stitch, so that's what I'm demonstrating. Now you know what comes next. Locate the purl bump. Make sure you don't split it or the yarn around it. Purl into it. Knit the next stitch. And after this row, it will just be knit one, purl one. You'll be all done except for the removal of the waste yarn. Find the purl bump, and they get tighter as you get to the edge. I know it should be right in there, but it doesn't want to show itself. We have to encourage it a little bit, tease it out. There it is. There we go, free of any waste yarn hanging on. We'll purl. Knit. Move this over. There should be one more purl bump to deal with. Looking for my final purl bump. There it is. Get it up and onto the peg. We'll purl into it. And knit the last stitch. And when you get several rows knitted, and it's convenient to do so, you can just get rid of the waste yarn. by snipping it in a couple of places. Now, if you used a ravel cord, as I've done in other movies, you don't have to snip. You can just pull that out. But when you do so, this is the look that you get. Knit one, purl one ribbing with a neat edge.